Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. And the journey continues today. It is March 22nd, 2021 at roughly 4:30 p.m. I lied. No, I made a mistake. It is roughly 4:30 a.m. Gives you an idea how my day's already started off. But then I've been up for, well, I guess about an hour at this point. Rough estimation. Now, I'm still working on this little issue, this walkthrough of how to attain the success that we're looking for, or the success that you're looking for. Now, I've already discussed the idea of get an idea in your head of what you're not content with. Okay, now, as you can tell, at least I think you can tell, things are getting turned around and back here. And even if we turn around this way so you can see the other side, that shelf it's got a few figures on it. One day, probably not that long, I would get a video, like a video camera. Just trying to think what the heck it's called. Anyway, an external camera that is not directly tied to the laptop. For the moment, that's not going to happen. But within the next month or so, that is my intention. And fortunately, as it turns out, thanks so much to you people, okay, I really do appreciate it. You know, we are making headway, one step at a time, but that's the only way anybody makes headway. I am getting more and more focused. Oddly enough, that seems to be the real catch to things. The more focused you get, the more relaxed you get, the easier it is to attain what you're aiming for. Now, for me, it really boils down to this. I've spent my life hiding. Well, that's an odd thought. I've spent myself hiding from me, not from people. Come to think of it, I wrote a book a while back that is in print, although I've never really completed the thing, and it's by no means ready to go to print. One called My Yesterday's Tomorrow, in which, now that is what I call a channeled autobiography, because in a nutshell, I wrote it without knowing what I was writing. It took me 4 days to write it, and 4 years to find it. Okay, that's an odd story in itself, but in any event, lemon water. In any event, things are progressing rather intriguingly. But it's funny. That just dawned on me that it's me I've been hiding from. Have you been facing the same thing? Are you hiding from you, thinking you're hiding from other people? Thinking you're trying to live up to somebody else's expectations? Yeah, that sounds really egocentric, doesn't it? It's all about me. Well, everybody's life is all about you. Okay, whoever we're talking about. I'm talking to you, but in all fairness, I'm talking to several other people. Okay, every one of my subscribers to date, I know I'm over 80. I think I'm sitting at 87, 88, which is not a great, it's a very small number, but it's a whole lot more people than what I used to be dealing with. Now, yes, this journey is turning into a very intriguing situation, but things are getting moved out of the way. Okay, the things that I desire to get out of the way for me. I have no idea what this is, but like I said, time is. Oh, well, that's intriguing. An envelope full of blank paper. Really? Yep, really. It's an envelope full of blank paper. What a novel concept. I'm guessing oh, that's right. I had ended up some time back I ended up getting something from somebody. They actually sent me a check for something. I do not honestly recall what it was. Not that it really matters. But they wrapped it in paper and sent it. But when we're talking some time ago, could have been any time. Okay, it could have been before the internet, for all I know, with the boxes I've been going through. But the important factor, from my standpoint, is pretty cut and dry. Time to get rid of stuff that we don't need. But this journey has been rather intriguing. Now, what I'm looking at right now, obviously, and we've discussed this before, I've got my laptop in front of me. Up here, right in plain view on the wall, is my goal. Okay, my financial requirement, which is for the household to run. I have a statement on the wall that says, considering we are dealing with a household, we have legally attained a minimum of $2,000 by 11:59 p.m. March 31st of 2021. Okay, now that is for the household to run, cover rent, cover utilities, cover food, cover any insurance, all of this. Now understand, I also have a business to run, and I will be doing another video on the business itself in a little while, but I'm going to get through this one first. Okay. Now, this particular little endeavor has got all sorts of things sorted around, and they are evolving nicely. Now, I do hope I get a thumbs up out of you, and I do hope that you subscribe to my channel. My goal is real simple: to help as many people as I can by walking through the tools that I personally use and have passed on to thousands of clients. Okay, now here's the neat part. The tools that I've passed on to thousands of clients, I have passed on one-on-one. Okay, this is the first time I've tried doing this whole idea of passing on the tools en masse. I've played with the idea, but it was thanks to you people, it was thanks to you for your encouragement that really got me into this role of doing things. Now, we are on, well, it's now, yeah, it is now March 22nd. I hope I said that at the beginning. If not, bear in mind, I am not perfect. I do not edit my videos. Whatever comes out, comes out. So, keep that in mind. The title on the video will absolutely be right because I make certain of it before I put it up. I do not go back to check. So, this is, just in case I screwed it up, this is March 22nd of 2021 at roughly 4:30 a.m. Okay. But it's because of you, because of your input and your encouragement, that I've gotten into this role, and it's actually working really nice. If you're wondering why I keep looking around, it's because I've got a lot of stuff over there that you can't see. And of course, until such time as I actually get a mobile webcam, one that I can pick up and move around, I can't show you the rest of the place. All you get is what I'm looking at here. Okay. Went out yesterday or the day before, right? And here's the thing. I buy these figures this way, okay? But some people have figured out how to paint them now. This one was store-bought. Okay, slightly different configuration, but my idea, my goal, is to take this character, this figure, and paint it so it's got a little bit more life to it. Okay, so it goes through that. Then we get something like this that is partially painted, and eventually I'll get to the ones that are fully painted. But that's just another one of my little hobbies that I keep going with. The reality is, I have so many things going up here, going on, that it's sometimes hard to keep them organized. Okay, so I end up doing multiple things at the same time, which is why when I worked things out the other day, I was sitting in a restaurant, and I turned around and put together a list, and it turns out I am currently working on 30 different books, okay, different writing projects that are all active. Okay, that's what that filing cabinet over there that you can't see is. It is a filing cabinet that I've started, that I've got things organized so I can go in, work on these projects. Now, as one doctor put it, he goes, your mind is working fine. You're not ADD, you're not ADHD. This is evidenced by the fact that I get things accomplished. And he pauses and he goes, you know, granted, you would get things accomplished more quickly if you would settle for doing one or two at the same time, and I have no doubt about that. If you concentrate your efforts on one or two things at a time, you will get a whole lot more done than if you're trying to do 15. In my case, 30 is only the books I'm writing. That's got nothing to do with the other projects. The same thing applies to debt loads. Okay. Psychologically speaking, it is easier to deal with one large debt than it is to deal with multiple little debts. Now, this is evidenced by the number of people. Well, that was different. By the number of people that get consolidation loans. The idea of a consolidation loan is, what you're told is, you take that one debt, that multiple debts, put it down into one debt, easier to cope with. It is. The problem with a consolidation loan, in my eyes, is, yes, it pays off the debt, but, let's just grab this, okay, just to make sure I get numbers at least functionally accurate. Now, let's say for simplicity's sake, let's say you only owe $1,000 total. Okay, you only owe $1,000 amongst all of your debts. Now, if that's the case, my guess is you're not in debt very long. Okay, let's push the number a little higher since we've got homeowners out there. I personally don't own a home. The odds of my ever buying one are pretty limited. I'm about to turn 58. There's not enough work time left for me to pay off any sort of a mortgage. So I just can't see the point to it. Besides that, I'm quite content with living in a place that I'm renting. Since I'm not going to own the home anyway, you've got property taxes all the time. Yes, the title is in your name. However, in my opinion, like, for instance, this pen I own. Okay, I paid for it. I use it when I choose. I put it where I desire. Okay, but I never have to pay a plug nickel. I can take the paint that I own and paint this if I want to. I don't need a permit. I don't need to do any. I don't need to get somebody else's input. Okay. When you own a home and you have a mortgage, you're paying rent to the bank. Now, here's the thing. You pay off that mortgage, and all of a sudden they say you own the home. But if you own the home, why are you still paying taxes? You're paying rent for that property. Okay, call it what you will, but that's what it boils down to. Look at the similarities. Don't take my word for it. Remember, this is my opinion. Now back to that consolidation thing. Let's say you still owe $100,000 combined. You paid off most of your home. Okay, and you've got a bunch of little debts. So you get a consolidation loan to pay off all of it and get all under one debt. Okay, and you're now paying, if you're lucky, let's say you're only paying 5%. Okay, well, if you take $100,000 and you multiply it by 1.05, in other words, by 5%, you're now going to, instead of only having a $100,000 debt, now you're paying off a $105,000 debt for the convenience of paying it all off at once. Now, remember a number of videos ago, I talked about the 4 P's of success. If your purpose is getting debt free, okay, if your purpose is getting debt free, then getting a consolidation loan where you're paying more interest to get that consolidated, okay, in most cases doesn't work as well as you might think. Now, yes, a consolidation loan, if your interest that you're paying on the loan is lower than your credit card interest, which is probable, but not always the case. Okay, I made that mistake. I ended up getting a consolidation loan to pay off a number of things. But the stupid part about it, and it was stupid on my part, you'd think I would have known better. I got a loan from a company that charged 45%. Now, my credit cards were only costing me 29%. Needless to say, I got a consolidation loan to eliminate a bunch of debts. It did that. I was down to one debt. But the financial cost of it was insane. Okay, not a good choice on my part. Like I said, I'm not perfect. When you've got multiple loans, multiple debts that you've got to deal with, take the time to list them out. Okay, list out the different debts that you've got. Okay, and put them down. But you split them into 2 types. Flat debts, ones that are just straight across the board, that's all you'll ever pay on them. And interest accruing debts, the ones like, for instance, credit cards. Okay, because credit cards charge you interest. Credit cards do your overdraft interest, your overdraft account does. Okay, things like that that cost you interest. Okay, or for that matter, if you're buying if you're buying a car on payments, it charges you interest. Okay, so you split your debt list into flat debts and interest accruing. Then you turn around and you target the smallest, monetarily speaking. In other words, if you've got a debt for $1,000 and you've got a debt for $1,700, you target the $1,000 debt first. You pay off, you make all your regular payments, but then if you've got a little extra left over, put it on the lower debt. Am I a financial advisor? No. So double check your numbers with your financial advisor. Bounce the concepts off of them and see what they say. If it works for you, great. It worked for me. That's all I can guarantee. Okay, it worked for me. Now, like I said, the tools I offer are tools that I personally use. When you target the smallest, monetarily speaking, debt, when it goes away, now you've got a little extra debt left, like little extra money left over to target the next debt. And you work your way up. You will get to be debt free. But you have to control where you're spending your money. Okay, currently I am debt free. I intend to stay that way. Yes, I've got an active credit card, so technically I owe them. But frankly, in probably, well, what's today, the 22nd? So in about roughly a week, I will pay that debt off too. Okay, because the catch to it is you pay your credit cards off so you don't pay interest on them. Now, I've got this goal up here of making sure I draw in enough income that I am covering my living expenses. Then I deal with what to do with the rest of the money. Okay, in the meantime, I've got all these little projects on the go. And yeah, this funny little detail here, that's just lemon water. I think I said that earlier. But I do have that other neat little thing, and that can go out of my way because I don't need it. And we have that important little factor. Familiar? So, if your goal is to become debt free, the trick is you target your smallest debts first. If you're getting a if you're getting a consolidation loan. That's not a problem, but check your interest rates. Because if you're paying interest already, if you can get a lower interest rate through a consolidation loan, it's a good deal. If it is going to cost you more interest to pay off that consolidation loan than what you're paying on the current loans, don't do it. It's a bad move. Okay. And remember, it doesn't matter what people want. It really doesn't. If you owe money, acknowledge the fact you owe it. That is absolutely critical. Acknowledge the fact that it's your debt. Okay. Commit to yourself to get it cleared off. Now, if you own debts and if you owe money, slow it down. If you owe money and you're dealing with collection agencies, they will pressure you to give them a definite amount of money that you can give them. That is not very often the case. Now, acknowledge when they call you, acknowledge the fact, yeah, that is my debt. I owe it. I do want to get it paid off. That is my desire, to get it paid off. If you can give them a definite, I will give you $5 a month, they will tell you that's not anywhere close to what, to acceptable. And you can always do what I did and went, well, that's okay, make up your own number. I'm going to ignore it anyway. I desire the debt to be paid off. However, I get to keep a roof over my head first. I get to keep food on my table first. I do desire to pay off the debt, but I'm not starving myself to do so. I've already made enough mistakes getting into debt. I'm not making mistakes getting out, at least not critical ones like that. Okay. The other thing to keep in mind, if you owe a lot of different people, especially if you're behind in utilities, power has to be the first one of the utilities to be paid. Because without power, you don't have your entertainment, you don't have your ability to cook, and you don't have your phones or your computers. If you don't have power, all of those ones are secondary. They're useless anyway. Go ahead, pay off your cable. I actually had a client tell me that. They were in financial distress. And they literally said, I'm behind in everything. I've got my cable and my bill and my power that both about to be cut off. And I kid you not, they were absolutely determined they were going to pay off their cable before, to make sure it didn't get cut off before they paid off their power. And I sat there and I went, you do know if you don't pay the power, that cable's going to get cut off anyway. Oh no, they won't cut the cable. Well, no, they won't. But they will cut off the power that runs the TV that you want to use or runs the computer. So power has to be, of the utilities, it has to be the critical one. Okay. Now, whether your TV or your TV, your computer, your phone, whichever one of those is most important to you, those are the ones you deal with. That's a personal choice, because it really is one of these things that if one's going to get cut off, so be it. But if your power gets cut off, you're completely out of luck on the rest. Trying to sneeze in case you're wondering, and like I said, I don't edit, so sorry you get that little annoying little pause. It just goes hand in hand with being live. But if your goal is to get debt free, understand money does not care what you feel like. Okay. And the reality is we will carry this on. We're down to our last few minutes here. Okay, hopefully this is working well. The fact that my membership is growing says something may be happening. I don't know yet. We'll see what happens. My subscription list. Okay, these are simply tools I personally have used to get to the point where I'm getting rid of junk by the carload. Like, this is old stuff I've collected. I used to be a staggering pack rat. And I mean, if you look at the shelf back here, you'll see stacks of stuff over there. Okay, on these shelves here, you can see, well, the bins, I didn't even have that organized. I used to just have them all over the place. And you can see just on the top shelf up here behind me, you can see stuff that's stacked up above the video screen. Okay, so I'm managing to get rid of the clutter that I don't desire in my life anymore. Okay, I've gotten rid of the debt load. I've still got things I desire to accomplish, but now I'm looking at it going, okay, I desire to accomplish that. How do I go about it? Can I wait a couple of months to get it, whatever it is, or is it something I have to have right now? Now, technically, when I went and bought my washer and dryer, I could have waited a few more months. Okay, but I'll tell you, for me, the issue of not having to go upstairs to the laundry room in my apartment, okay, is so much more of an annoyance than have the washing machine inside. Yes, it costs me a little more, but for me personally, that cost is balanced out by the comfort level of I don't have to leave to do it. Like I've mentioned, I'm extremely reclusive in a lot of ways. I do leave the house. Okay, I've got one restaurant I go to frequently, way too frequently, really. But since the only thing that I do the only places I go is I go to one restaurant, okay, on the whole, I go to the grocery store, and I go to the funny little shop where I buy these things. Okay, so that I've got something to work with. Now, those drawers over there, oh, I do have one here. This little one here. This started out as white, just like the others. Okay, but when I got finished, as you can see, it gets hand painted all the way around. Okay, that's what ends up, they go from that. Okay, now granted, these are all different shapes, sorry, deal with that one, to partially painted, to fully painted, at which point they will end up, that one actually, because it's fully painted, I gotta get a place set up behind me here, where I can take the ones that are fully painted and put them down out of the drawer, so I know that I'm done with them. Okay, hey, that's not a bad idea now, is it? That little shelf over there, that empty one. That one I can put the completed figures in. It's not big, but it will put them on display where I can look at them. And oddly enough, this is something I have discovered while I'm doing the video here, while I'm doing the journey. I can see the progress I'm making. So by tomorrow you will see, because I'll be doing it as soon as I get off the video, which I'm just wrapping up here, you'll see how that shelf, especially that one pocket you see, will start getting new figures on it. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I will be back tomorrow morning. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.